among these arrested people are in directing roles within the Ndrangheta. I think the important thing to consider is that it's a very good sign of international cooperation. And this is not the first time in this year. So we had another big raise of arrests earlier in 2018, pretty much in the same countries. So it shows that it's finally paying off all the work that we have been trying to, we academics have been also trying to
heavy rain. More than 40 million people here. We look at some of the southern United States, and within this area right here, there is a chance that there's going to be some flash flooding. In fact, that chance is now going up as we get closer to the event and closer to the time. It's looking more and more likely we're going to have some areas where flash flooding is going to happen. So just heads up there if your plans take you on the roads or out and about the end of the week and into the weekend. 3 to 5 inches, that's a lot of rain coming over just a short period. And now we're going to focus here at the areas to the north and the snowfall that's expected. Snow is expected. Some details still to work out. This is going to be a tough one. Who ends up getting a little bit of snow, some accumulating snow. What does look rather likely where the cold air meets the moisture. And a couple things going on here. Higher elevation, more likely to be cold. And then there is the cold air that's going to get stuck here up against the Appalachian Mountains. So let's take a look at the different forecast models with this for these areas. The European model, which was showing a lot of snow throughout the southern plains, also showing a lot of snow here across the Appalachians, parts of North Carolina and South Carolina. Let's look at the USGFS. Also showing a lot of snow. So confidence, I think, is going to be going up, especially if both of these forecasts, both these computer models hang tight. It looks like a pretty big event for somebody somewhere in the Carolinas and Virginia.
Yeah, and this storm could have a major impact on air travel. The storm can mean snow and ice for many major airports, but airlines can fight back.
Jen Carfagno and Jim Cantore show us what it takes to de-ice a giant jet.
You know, if you've ever waited and waited to board your flight and finally you get to take your seat and...
Well, folks, we've had light snow overnight and there are still flurries in the area. We're going to go ahead and head over and get in line to de-ice.
Yeah, de-icing causes delays, right? And de-icing is not as simple as spraying down the plane with a garden hose of antifreeze. It's a bit more complicated than that. And it's so important for planes to fly. So Jim Cantore standing outside this plane right now. Jim, take us through the science behind de-icing.
All right, so there's de-icing and anti-icing, and it's really amazing the way it's done and the way it's crafted. And remember, this doesn't happen right at the gate. Your plane will leave the gate. It will go out to a de-icing pad that's basically ready to take on all that fluid and bring it back and recycle it, not let it just go off into the environment. But here you are, sitting on the pad. This is called glycol, this solution here. It's heated to about 170 degrees. Some say it actually smells a little like maple syrup. This solution essentially is to wash off the snow that is falling. And the type of procedures that we're describing here are in a situation where we not only have precipitation that's happened and accumulated on the plane, but also is expected to continue. And also, we're going to see that plane go up through an area of what we call supercooled water, where your plane acts as a condensation nuclei. And if the water is super cool, it can actually just stick right to the plane. So hence the solutions. The first one again is what we call type 1. That's the glycol, that's the heated one. This one is a type 4 solution. It will go on right afterward. So after they finish the orange solution, here comes the green. This is essentially your antifreeze. All right, this is what prevents the super cool water droplets from adhering to the plane. Now, it's interesting the methods that they use here, because they will go from the beginning of the plane all the way to the back of the plane, from the wingtips down to the fuselage, then back toward the tail on down to the wing. It's amazing. What happens, though, if that plane is not de-iced? Let's talk about these super cool water droplets and this condensation nuclei. Well, we know the plane and the metal is going to be below 32 degrees because that's the air that surrounds it. But sometimes water vapor can actually exist below 32 degrees in a liquid form. But if your plane acts as that condensation nuclei, guess where that super cooled water is going to adhere? The plane. And once you start adding ice and adding mass, you start changing the aerodynamics of the wings. You clog up the flaps, as would be the case when you build up ice on them. You completely lose control of the plane. So whether it's 15 minutes, whether it's 20 minutes, and whether it's 30 minutes, de-icing is an essential part of flying, especially in the winter months. And Jen, you know, I've actually been on planes that have been de-iced, and we had to wait in line long enough where we had to go back and get de-iced again. That solution doesn't last forever.
Oh, exactly, Jim. That holdover time after you get de-iced is anywhere from 15 minutes to maybe up to an hour, depending on the weather conditions and what's falling from the sky outside the aircraft. Jim Cantore, that was awesome.
that's on the way. And looking at some of the snowfall totals here in Raleigh, North Carolina, Charlotte, Roanoke, and Charleston, what this is looking at two of the forecast models. We're looking at the GFS and the Euro. And all of these have snow except for Charleston, West Virginia, just 2 inches on the GFS, nothing on the Euro. And look at some of these totals. That's pretty high up there. Even if you were to split the difference there, you're looking at 15 inches for Charlotte. Still a few days out, but still, producing both models quite a bit of snow. So that's a little preview of what we're looking at for the southeast. I want to take you now to the southern plains and parts of the south where there's going to be the chance for some heavy snow. This is our official forecast at the Weather Channel for this coast-to-coast storm. But want to get back now and get a little bit deeper into the forecast for the southeast. Go back to Raleigh now and talk a little bit more about these models, the GFS and the Euro. The difference here is 5 inches. So, I mean, the low end 4 inches, the high end 9 inches. This is some of the tools we look at when making our forecast. These are two model outputs there. And I want to show it to you now in a map based. So this again is our forecast, and someone's going to get a lot of snow. And looking at what the European is showing, and we just looked at the numbers and the bars there, looking at some very heavy snow for a lot of people. How about the GFS? Similar story. Some of the same spots, including Charlotte, still both models in agreement. When that happens, we know, Liana, get a little bit more confidence.
Absolutely, Chris. And either way, we're going to see some dangerous driving conditions develop. We've already seen them early this morning in Indiana. This is a time lapse where you can see the roads very slick in South Bend, and it's all slick with ice. The temperature's not getting above freezing today. Ice could be a major problem for much of the rest of this evening. With snow and ice going to be a problem on the roads this entire week, pretty much. If something happens, the best way to get unstuck is to be prepared. Mark Elliott has some easy and inexpensive ways to keep you going this season.
If you live in an area with lots of snow, chances are you've already put snow
So that also
could see a similar thing then.
that will also
just as
up
much
the
weight.
ante. Yeah.
But cities you'd be particularly worried about for power outages.
Charlotte, Asheville for trees and probably the heavy wet snow, and places like Oklahoma City and those areas, maybe back toward Amarillo, for just a buildup of that ice on power lines themselves.
And travel conditions that would just be potentially horrendous.
Critical there, critical.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. Alex?
All right, still to come on Weather Underground. Parts of the Northeast slammed by heavy snow today, turning beaches into scenes like this. Your major travel problems are still happening now. And we break down the latest timing for Diego, including weekend snow and ice in the south. That when we come back.
We're going to put that into critical. A lot of that has bridges and overpasses. They do become slick and hazardous. When we're talking about freezing, thing you also need to prepare for as well. So what about the rest of that updated 12-day forecast? There's some bigger changes on down the road. We're going to talk about that as well coming up right after this.
If you are looking for a quality home and North
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
7.5 magnitude earthquake strikes off the coast of New Caledonia, prompts small tsunami waves for Vanuatu. Tsunami waves see New Caledonia, one of a massive 7.6 magnitude, according to the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. The tsunami waves were observed at Mare Island in New Caledonia and Lenacle in Vanuatu. There is a tsunami alert for New Caledonia, Vanuatu, and Fiji. People in coastal areas were reportedly urged to evacuate immediately, and these evacuations are underway. Hazardous tsunami waves from this earthquake are possible within 1,000 kilometers, 600 miles, of the epicenter along the coasts of Vanuatu and New Caledonia, the PTWC said. Just 4 minutes earlier, a 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck just 147 kilometers away from the island. Around 284,000 people are expected to be affected, including in the cities of Tadine, Vau, and Wee. Tsunami waves 1 to 3 meters high are possible along the coast of New Caledonia and up to 1 meter in Fiji. There were 2 more aftershocks, one measuring 5.9 on the Richter scale 142 kilometers from New Caledonia, one at 5.7 magnitude and 131 kilometers away from New Caledonia. Officials say the Popocatépetl volcano sent ash more than 1.5 miles into the sky as it let out a plume of ash. Major storm with snow, ice and rain to slam south-central U.S. Friday to Saturday. Old Man Winter will deal a swath of heavy snow, ice, rain and thunderstorms that will hit travel hard across the south-central United States from Friday to Saturday. The storm has the potential to bring enough snow and ice to shut down travel for a time to the southern plains, to the middle part of the Mississippi Valley and a portion of the Tennessee Valley. For many areas, this will be a long-duration storm, lasting 2 days or more in many cases, according to AccuWeather senior meteorologist Brett Anderson. The weight of the wet snow and ice may bring down trees and lead to regional power outages. Shipping originating from, passing through or ending up in this swath may be adversely affected. Where little or no sleet and freezing rain mix in, there is the potential for 6-12 inches of snow from this single storm. Amarillo, Texas, Wichita, Kansas, Ponca City, Oklahoma, and Springfield, Missouri, may end up in a zone of heaviest snowfall. Areas from northwestern Texas to central and southern Oklahoma to northern and central Arkansas are likely to fall within the icy, wintry mix portion of the storm. While a few inches of snow may not seem like much, the combination of snow, sleet and freezing rain can be extremely difficult to remove and very dangerous to venture through. Cities that may be hit hard with a heavy icy or wintry mix include Childress, Texas, Oklahoma City and Tulsa, Oklahoma, Fort Smith, Arkansas, and Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
looking at a nor'easter. Let's walk you through that forecast day by day, city by city. Some uncertainties in that forecast with Diego, Alex, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that it could gen up into a low off the coast here.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. We've got a few opportunities or options on the table, though, for this system. One of those is that it moves offshore and doesn't impact parts of the mid-Atlantic or the Northeast. So that's absolutely in play. We look at the most likely across Southern California, but you get up into the elevations, and that's where, of course, we have the snow. We're going to time this out through the day Thursday, and we've got rain likely through the remainder of today and into tonight as we go through parts of California. That continues into the day on Thursday. Now, by Thursday night, we begin to see that freezing rain across parts of Texas, so parts of the Panhandle, and that freezing rain will blossom as we go through the day on Friday. Amarillo, Friday, it's late day ice and a wintry mix to snow Friday night. Saturday, snow with a high of 32, and by Saturday night, things begin to wind down in Amarillo, but for other areas, Mike, it's just beginning at that point.
All right, let's pick it up on Friday on the map and show you what's going on here, because now we look at a place like Amarillo or Lubbock through the Panhandle of Texas into western and central Oklahoma. Icy conditions come our way. Potentially huge hazard of travel for you here. And then we go over to a mix at times, but still a decent amount of freezing rain through Oklahoma, extending over into Arkansas on Friday night. So really tough conditions to be out, likely going to have high impact travel here. All right, Lubbock, here's our forecast. Icy weather for us Thursday night through Friday night. Temperatures very marginal, okay? Saturday, we end it all with some light snow on the back end of it as temperatures fall back down into the 20s. Friday, rain across deep South Texas and central Texas, but even a place like Dallas-Fort Worth, you're going to be way too warm to get any wintry precip, so it's all rain in our forecast, and that rain extends across I-10 and I-20 going into Friday night. So now Shreveport and Lake Charles and Jackson, these are all locations where the rain moves in. The rain could get Friday night as far east as Atlanta. For Shreveport, there's our forecast. Rain. By Sunday, we now start to dry out a little bit, but a really uncomfortable forecast for you. Whether it's wintry precip or whether it's just cold rain, it's not fun.
Yeah, there's not much of a difference between freezing rain at 32 and rain at 34. Either way, you're wet and you are really uncomfortable if you have to be outside at all, at least when you're standing in it. The impacts can be much different. Now, on Saturday, that freezing rain corridor across northern Arkansas, again, that's when it becomes a problem for things like power outages and road conditions versus standing in it, because the rain is going to freeze on contact. The wintry mix through parts of Oklahoma, areas into Texas and northern Louisiana, very close to the Missouri state line. Now on Saturday across the south, it's generally a cool rain that's coming down. Heavy rain and thunderstorms most likely as you get down near the Gulf Coast, where temperatures will be a little milder, things a little bit more unstable to get those thunderstorms going. Saturday night, now you can see the cold air wedged up against the mountains in that zone. We've got snow, we've got wintry mix, maybe a little bit of freezing rain into parts of upstate South Carolina. Saturday 43, Saturday night 37, Sunday 41, all those day parts bringing with it rain. So it's going to be a chilly rain, but when you really look at it, Mike, it does appear that the Atlanta metro area could get very lucky. Again, if you have to do any work outside, it's going to be miserable, but to not have the freezing rain and just a cold rain,
yeah, dodging a bullet, that's for sure. All right, let's fast forward now to Sunday and update you on that forecast as we round out the weekend here. All right, we know there can be some places there that deal with some really ugly conditions, and certainly on Sunday, not ruling out more heavy snow here. From Asheville over toward Greensboro here, significant winter storm is likely for us with rain, snow, and ice all in the cards here. Hazardous road conditions, especially traveling along 40 or maybe 77, 23, 26. Those are all issues for you. Maybe even portions, by the way, of 85 as well. Sunday night, Charlotte, you're in play. Roanoke, you're in play. Richmond and even Raleigh-Durham, you're in play for wintry weather with the heaviest of snow going to happen at elevation here, and it could be a record-setting snow for some of you. Take a look at Monday's forecast now. Still more issues for us in the Piedmont of North Carolina. Snow spreading up to Louisville, getting up toward Charleston, edging its way farther north here. Monday's forecast does bring us opportunities, though, for more wet conditions now for Raleigh. So you're kind of on the edge of it all here. Raleigh in and out of the wintry precip and the rain. But boy, big time snow could fall for us here with potentially the highest elevations upwards of 2 feet of snow that could be coming our way. This is south. Alex was alluding to this. A very ugly weekend with heavy rain sitting up in a lot of different places, especially I-40 south. Still to come here on the show tonight. When we come back, time to prepare is now. Important life-saving essentials to keep in your car in case you get caught in the snow and the ice. Plus, beaches become winter wonderland.
through the day and get into the evening, there's a layer here where the temperature rises above freezing. Snow will change to rain in most areas, but outside of Oklahoma City, if any of our areas drop below 32, it turns to a glaze of ice. And then finally, as we go into Saturday, we're once again back into cold temperatures aloft. You turn back into snow. Alex, there's going to be several periods of different types of precipitation across places like the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles. The big takeaway here is Friday into Saturday, we could have very big impacts on travel. Be prepared and make your plans now.
Yeah, and one of the ways you can be prepared is in your car. We don't want to see a repeat of what happened on November 12th. Snow and icy roads caused this big mess. It was just under an inch of snow that fell. It was enough to make the roads slick, though, and you can see semis jackknifed. And then the traffic backups were huge. And a lot of times in these winter weather events, we can see those long lasting and major traffic pileups. Sometimes people have spent the night in their car. And so you want to have a winter travel car kit, things in your car that should you find yourself in that situation, or even worse, stuck, say in a ditch on the side of the road, you have a way to help yourself. One, flares, tire chains, things like kitty litter. This is going to help you get through the snow or get out of the snow should you find yourself stuck. Same for an emergency kit or an ice scraper and brush. But you also want to have things like water and snacks, warm clothes, because say a truck jackknifes in front of you and you're waiting 3, 6, 9 hours. You want to have something to, keep you comfortable and also keep you and the family fed and hydrated. Flashlight, also a great thing to have. And this is the time of year, Tom, where it's especially helpful to think about how much gas is in your car. You don't want to be going to the gas station all the time, I know, but you want to err on the side of having it mostly full.
Yeah, and I've always gone by the rule of never letting your gas tank get below half a tank.
Right, during the winter months, right? Always a good rule to live by.
Yep. Another component I carry in the car now is that cell phone charger. So if I do get stuck, at least I can charge that phone a couple of times.
And the external batteries should you lose power in your car.
See some high impact winter weather. Let's go ahead and play this out as we go. Beginning Saturday morning here, already behind this little sign for Atlanta, we're already seeing a little snow at higher elevations in the Appalachians here. You can see the icy mix here back across Arkansas. But watch what happens as we go into Saturday night and then into Sunday. The cold air deepens across this area. This high is going to keep pumping cold air down on the east side of the Appalachians. It's likely going to set up a deep enough layer in the atmosphere to produce snow in these locations, and that snow is going to continue. On Sunday, it continues. This low will move off the coast then Sunday night into Monday, and another little short wave in the atmosphere lights up this areas across Kentucky, Tennessee, and both the European and the GFS model, all due to that cold air moving down the east side of the Appalachians, are showing very heavy snowfall. The general footprint is the same across these areas. That brings Charlotte into play. Even Raleigh may come into play here with the snowfall on both of these models. Our current forecast is showing as much as 18 to 24 inches in places like Boone. The ski resorts up there in North Carolina are going to love this, but travel is going to be horrendous. The good news is this is Sunday. That's the time to hunker down and really stay at home and just enjoy the winter weather from the comfort of your home.
Well, let's talk about what happens with the ice, because we know for so many of you that becomes the real concern. Generally, we can drive, at least to some reasonable degree, in snow. Ice is a whole different situation. Then you factor in what can happen with power outages. Now, at 1/4 of an inch or less, we're talking light ice on trees, spotty power outages, icy overpasses. Yes, problems to untreated roadways, that's for sure. But once you get up to, say, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, this is where tree limbs break, numerous power outages occur, icy roads, more widespread tree damage. Power outages become widespread as well, and long-term power outages now become an issue for you, and roads so dangerous they're impassable in some locations. Let's take a look at power outages and proper operation of your generator, because, if you lose power, all right, you're going to have your generator running. You have to operate that outdoors, minimum 15 feet away from your home. Don't use candles or open flames. Flashlights with extra batteries, a much safer bet for you. Stay away from down power lines and anything that might be touching it. 30 feet minimum away from those power lines. Call 911 if you see a downed power line. Then shelter where there's backup power if you have life-sustaining equipment, oxygen machine, something like that, dialysis machine, or call 911 if necessary. So many things that we don't often think about, Alex, but when we're an electricity-dependent society, and we are, when you lose it, it can, in some instances, be deadly.
Yeah, so as we say during hurricane season, think about what you're going to need. A profile of the atmosphere can make big difference towards what you actually see.
To the Appalachians and the Carolinas, we often will be talking about cold air damming and the potential for icy conditions there. The cold air is likely going to be deep enough in this event that parts of those inland areas along the east, look at the snowfall that is being forecast here. Even with temperatures right up or just above the freezing mark, I think most of this area is going to see significant snow for an extended period of time from Saturday afternoon right in through Sunday night. And one of the reasons I say that, let's go Friday night at 11 p.m. Asheville at 31 degrees here. And again, look at the temperature above them. You can see through the whole atmosphere here up through 18,000 feet, temperatures below freezing. That's going to be snow. Let's take it and we continue this and go into Sunday morning, and that temperature remains below freezing. So Alex, in a lot of these areas, I really think that we're going to see more of a potential for significant heavy wet snow. Now you get down toward Charlotte and out toward Raleigh, it may be a little shallow area of cold air and maybe a little better potential for icing, but nevertheless, big impacts over the weekend for travel across this area.
Yeah, and today impactful snow in the mid-Atlantic. The flakes were falling in Atlantic City. Snow even reported as far south as the Nashville area. Take a look at the snowflakes flying on the windshields there in this parking lot. Kentucky, Blacksburg, Virginia, also seeing some snow. You can see the snow blowing around the parking lot in Blacksburg. Always cool to see. Recapping what's been happening over the past few hours, we had that potent burst of snow right over parts of South Jersey through the middle of the afternoon. So you're sitting in the office looking out and going, wow, or sitting in your beach house when normally looking out over the Atlantic and going, gosh, I can't see much of anything out there now. Persistent heavy snow over a few hours left visibilities low and obviously left some accumulations out there, generally in that 2 to 4 inch range. We'll look at a few of those accumulations in Atlantic City, right around 2.8 inches. And again, they were reporting visibilities very low for a time being because of the snow. We were looking at the tower cams going, gosh, the beach should be there somewhere. Egg Harbor Township had about 3 inches of snow. Petersburg, 2.5 inches of snowfall. We saw snow up towards the Vineland area, even snow showers coming down in Philadelphia area as well. Bigger picture showing the water vapor imagery. We've got that low that triggered some of those showers. A little inverted trough there across parts of South Jersey that helped to add some oomph to that snow, and boy did they get it across the area. When we look at our 30-year average for Atlantic City in December, or rather seasonal snowfall, 15.7 over 30 years, but when we break it down decade by decade, the 2010s have been awfully snowy in the Atlantic City area. Mike?
All right, so could we be looking at potentially more snow? Yeah. Could Winter Storm Diego gen up into a nor'easter? Jury's still out right now, but it's not out of the question entirely, okay? There's we'll look at where our low sits on Saturday, okay? Down here, say near New Orleans. As we put this through time, notice how it starts to edge its way just a little bit north and east here, sitting off, say, Savannah by Sunday. High pressure still sits to the north, so we've got cold air in place. That's one ingredient you'll need here in New England to get a winter nor'easter. That low then, this is with the GFS model, takes a little bit of a trek farther away from the coast, and if it continues out like that, very little impact for us along the northeast coast, and I think that would be a nice saving grace for us. We know that we'll get plenty of snow this year regardless of this particular storm. There's a look at the Euro model, putting in a similar place on Sunday, maybe right off the Georgia coastline here, maybe a little bit farther northerly track going into Monday, now putting it maybe right off the coast of North Carolina, a little bit slower too, but now it seems like both models tend to push it a little bit farther out. Doesn't mean we couldn't see just a little glancing blow along the coastline, but as of right now, it looks
awfully rough forecast nonetheless. If you had any plans to maybe go pick out a Christmas tree this weekend, I think you're going to be rescheduling that. We've got a lot more to come on the show. A significant ice threat for multiple cities from Oklahoma City to Charlotte. We'll explain why the impacts can be different depending on where you live. just over an hour.
Weather expert Tom Nissel with us here this evening. Tom, it's just getting its legs now in California, but marches all the way across the southern states.
Yeah, we've named this system because it's going to have national impacts, and we can follow it across the U.S. Mike, there's two factors that come into play here. This is the upper level low that is sitting right here, that is coming onto the coast of California right now. This system right here is going to eventually bring all that moisture up across the southern U.S. That's part one. Part two has to do with the way this pattern is set up here. It's actually producing an Arctic high pressure system bringing very cold air down out of Canada. We're not going to get snow or any wintry precipitation without that cold air. Normally this time of the year it doesn't get that far south, but this weather pattern is going to set up to do that. As a result of that, over 3 or 4 days here, look at the extent of the snow across the southern U.S. here. It covers over 1,000 miles, and I'm not even talking about the potential for freezing rain in these areas. Now, if we play this out through time, we're just going to start at Thursday at 8 a.m. We're going to watch this precipitation now work its way up into the cold air on the far northern edge here. Under that shallow cold air is where we're going to begin to see freezing precipitation, maybe just to the west of Oklahoma City, back into Amarillo, back into Lubbock. That's going to continue through Friday. Oklahoma City right on the edge of that freezing precip. It's going to get cold enough back here in Amarillo on the backside of the system. The air will get deep enough, the cold side of that, to actually change us over to a significant period of snowfall here. So Amarillo, those areas, I think you're going to see a good significant snow on the ground before this is all over. By Saturday evening, the system is moving out pretty quickly to the east here. Phase 2 develops in the southeastern U.S. Total snowfall, European model really keying from west of Oklahoma City back through Amarillo, 5 to 8 inches. Northern Arkansas also with a fair amount of snow in those higher elevations. The GFS model, they're not as high with the snowfall here. Part of the reason they're not bringing the moisture far enough north into this cold air to produce snow. Alex, there's still a lot of questions here in the details of what's going to happen. Yeah. Nevertheless, be ready for a significant period of wintry weather here going into the weekend.
Yeah, and that continues all the way as we head into parts of the southeast as well. We've got those mountains across the southeast, and they're going to be very much in play. That includes areas like Boone. Saturday in the afternoon, the snow begins, and it continues Saturday night, Sunday, and Sunday night. Highs on Sunday only in the upper 20s, and that snow could be coming down in earnest throughout the second half of our weekend. The cold air is flowing to the south thanks to our high pressure settled over the Midwest parts of the Great Lakes. So that's bringing the cold air in. Of course, we've got moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico and out of the Atlantic, and where that cold air and moisture meets, it's an easy math equation. Cold moisture equals snow or ice. Now, across the higher elevations of western North Carolina, we think this is going to be predominantly a snow event, and that's exactly what the U.S. GFS model is showing. Parts of the upstate of South Carolina, northeast Georgia, getting down into parts of Tennessee, could get in on a little bit of that wintry mix, but you saw a lot of blue on that map, which would be indicative of just the snowfall. European model forecast very similar to this. We begin to see that moisture move in. Rain across places like Atlanta and Birmingham, but for Asheville, for Roanoke, this is going to be a snow event, and Sunday looks to be especially snowy across parts of the southeast and into at least the southern part of the mid-Atlantic. European model has that focus for heaviest snow over the Appalachians there across western North Carolina and into southern Virginia. The GFS model is pretty darn close. So both of those models now coming into agreement that we could be looking at some good totals, the heaviest totals across the mountains there on the east side of the Appalachians.
So let's talk about the cities specifically we're worried about. There are a couple of them that could get some potentially historic snow. Roanoke, we've got a big storm ahead of us. Saturday night through Monday, snow, primarily snow, but maybe a brief period of wintry mix. 8 to 12 inches is coming your way. Personally, I think that might even be on the conservative side, all right? So we'll see how this plays out, but we think a big snow could be coming. For Charlotte, Friday night into Monday, with rain converting over to snow. Hello, Charlotte. 5 to 8 inches of snow is a serious storm force here in the Queen City. Greensboro, North Carolina, we'll go north of Charlotte here. Saturday night into Monday, snow with a brief period of wintry mix, but look at your accumulation total, 8 inches to a foot, potentially one of the bigger snowstorms you've seen in recent times.
going to be pretty miserable if you have to be outside. In Tallahassee, you're on the milder side, so 64 with rain showers, much more comfortable. But even by Sunday night, Mike, they get a taste of that chilly rain.
To Storm Diego, day by day, from snow to ice, and the headaches that both will cause.
dry, but you'll begin Monday night. Saturday, just snow. But let's show the
your coast-to-coast storm will spread.
Has not changed where that opportunity for freezing rain is. Again, western Oklahoma, central Oklahoma, even up into portions of north central Oklahoma. There could be a light wintry mix with even some snow possible by Friday across portions of northwestern Oklahoma, southern Oklahoma, far eastern Oklahoma. You folks essentially stay all liquid as we go through Friday, but it's all going to be about that ice line. Where is that 32-degree number? Again, as we really go through the morning and the day on Friday, the freezing rain continues Friday night. It right now looks like it's going to continue even for part of the day on Saturday. We will slowly transition to snow as we go through Saturday, and again, some of this snow will be locally heavy on Saturday. Notice the snow line now coming all the way down into portions of southern Oklahoma. You folks down in Ardmore now included in this as well, and then a wintry mix down in southeastern parts of the state. So I just updated this here, ice potential here, and again, you're seeing a trace, a tenth of an inch, a quarter of an inch, a half an inch, and this is important, and we really want to highlight this. The snow can cause issues, yes, as we all know. We're going to talk about the snow here in a second, but the ice has the potential to cause power disruptions. We're not saying that's going to happen, but again, when you're talking about a quarter to a half an inch of ice, it does up the probability, if you will, of power disruptions. We really want to be clear about that. And where you're seeing the yellow, that does include parts of the Oklahoma City metro, southwestern Oklahoma, there could be a quarter to a half an inch of glaze. So we've got to keep that in mind. That will also cause some travel issues, some freezing rain possible also over in eastern Oklahoma. Updated snowfall projections anywhere from an inch, 2 to 4 in central Oklahoma, 6 to 8 plus in the pink possible out there in western Oklahoma. Notice also northern Oklahoma, a band of 3 to 6 even up through the Enid area. So again, yes, we're talking about ice. The ice will cause issues, but then as we get into Saturday, this is primarily on Saturday, the snow and some blowing snow will cause issues as well. So again, the overall forecast, really, really important information. This still appears to be a once in every 10-year type winter storm here in Oklahoma. Road conditions, again, keep in mind this is just the forecast here, but we're seeing the red. The roads could be slick and hazardous. Most of the state will at least see some slick spots, again, with this impending winter storm. So the overall impacts, this is for central Oklahoma here. But again, the bridges, we're going to put that into critical. A lot of that has to do with the freezing rain. When we see freezing rain, the bridges and overpasses, they do become slick and hazardous very quickly with that. And also the snow that we're going to see, we're going to include the roads there in the high. And then right now, we're going to keep the power disruption potential in the moderate category. And we're not trying to scare folks with that. I know when you hear power disruption, you know, that sounds a little ominous, but keep in mind that's quite possible, again, when we're talking about freezing rain. So right now we have it in the moderate category, but that could bump up into the high category. So that's something we need to really track, and that's something you also need to prepare for as well. So what about the rest of that updated 12-day forecast? There's some bigger changes on down the road. We're going to talk about that as well coming up right after this.
If you are looking for a quality and affordable underground storm
December. So we will track that carefully and again see if that verifies as we get a little bit deeper in there into the 12-day. But of course, really over the next several days, it's all about that winter storm, this impending winter storm. And of course, the very latest information you need to know. Again, you need to start gathering things and making sure you're making preparations for this storm, even for our friends across portions of western Oklahoma, rural Oklahoma as well. And of course, if you have your livestock, your animals, you know, all those kind of things are things you need to be thinking about. And really with kind of the nicer weather today, if you can, try and get those things done. Even here in central Oklahoma, again, maybe stock up on a few things, nothing to go crazy with right now, but maybe stock up on a few things you may need around the house, especially when we're talking about the freezing rain. And again, at least that possibility, and we want to touch this very easily, not to scare folks, but at least that possibility of some power disruptions with the freezing rains. We'll continue to track this carefully. Updates on the Oklahoma Weather Tracker TV mobile app as well. And also be back this evening at 7 p.m. for another look at your complete forecast. Otherwise, keep it here with Oklahoma Weather Tracker TV. We'll keep you up to date with the latest live weather information for Oklahoma.